Hello, everybody. Suzanne Kellner-Zinck from Dunning Vision's Hypnosis. Over the past few days, I've had some very interesting conversations with folks on Alignable. Alignable is a platform for networking. You get broken into 7-minute time periods to interact with one or two other professionals. Sometimes it's based on a similar area of occupation, sometimes it's not. I do a lot of these because I live in Albania. Generally speaking, I can spend my evenings and late evenings unalignable when a lot of the other folks who live in America have to spend their alignable time during their workday. This means that I get to interact with a whole ton of people, 6 to 8 per alignable hour or so on average. I was speaking to a person yesterday who was very clear that the medical system had no clue how to help her. It was making her sicker and sicker and sicker because they couldn't figure out why she was so ill. She could barely move. It was horrific. And she got to the point where she had to get motivated to find the answers for herself. This is not a story that I have not heard before. I heard this story from a person who I actually was involved in a Toastmasters group when I was living out in California, who was almost killed by the medical system. She thought she had cancer. She didn't have cancer. She did have some, shall we say, lack of metabolism of major nutrients that she needed, and she was already a chemist in food. So she had a pretty good idea of how chemistry worked and just had to apply it to her bodily functions. And she healed herself. And let me tell you something. When I first met this woman, she was 50 years old. She looked like she was 30. Amazingly beautiful with thick, long, healthy hair. So I'm here to tell you that doctors mean well. They really do want to help you. But they're in a system that is not meant for them to do that for you. It's very sad. It's rather pathetic. My dad was a dentist. Unfortunately, he died early at the age of 61 in 1985. But in his day, there was very little insurance coverage for dentistry. I recall a lot of folks who worked for IBM, which was located in the town next to where my dad's practice was, in Armonk, New York. His practice was in Mount Kisco, New York, coming in with insurance coverage. Then we had the Medicaid and the Medicare people, and that was about it at that time. It was a practice based on, I am your dentist. I'm here to do the least that I need to do in order to help you have a healthy mouth, healthy teeth, and if your teeth are not healthy or your mouth is not healthy, we'll figure out the best way to get them healthy without it costing a fortune, hopefully. And that was the way he did things. He was a minimalist. He didn't even have a hygienist because his dental assistant, who was with him throughout his entire practice, didn't want one. And because of that practice, he knew what was going on in the mouths of all of his patients because he did all of the cleanings himself. What a concept. I was really lucky that after he passed away and I was in Massachusetts, I was referred by a neighbor to a dentist who had the same type of practice where he did all of his own cleanings. And we had some really great chats over the 20 plus years that I was in his care. In fact, he made my mouth beautiful with braces. I have retainers permanently in there, so I never have to go through that hell of braces ever again, as my best friend from college did in his 40s. He had his braces on for the second time when I was getting my braces on for the first time, which is kind of crazy because my dad could have had it done for free if I wanted to do it as a kid, but I was not ready then, so I did not. So getting back to this healthcare thing, we need to understand something. Our body is a natural self-healing mechanism. There are a few things the body needs. It needs a healthy environment. That means not around toxic people, either at home or at work, to dry you down and kill your immune system as they are killing your mental health. Number 2, we need to have food that is full of nutrition. Very difficult to do in America, but hopefully with RFK Jr., putting up with all the garbage that he has to with big food and big pharma, this will become less of a problem, and you'll be able to get decent food in soil that actually has the minerals in which it can leach the minerals into your produce and your livestock. And to stop using antibiotics, GMOs, and the rest of the garbage they put into the food, even though organic food isn't organic. If you actually grow food on your own, you know that they have blemishes. That's what happens in real life. They don't look perfect. No, people, they don't. So I need you to understand when you're being manipulated and when you're not, okay? The next thing you need is vitamin D3. One of the stupidest things that happened in lockdown was to force people to stay inside. Vitamin D3 is one of the mechanisms that we need come through sunlight so that our bodies can function. Hundreds of processes are done in our body with vitamin D3. Get out and get your sunshine. Another thing we need to have is you need to have healthy relationships. And this has actually been considered in terms of the blue areas. They found that relationships are the most important aspect to health and well-being of anything else. It was more important than the damage that's done by people who smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day be overcome with great relationships. So I'm going to tell you here in Albania, family is the most important thing ever. Don't say anything negative about anyone's family because you'll be hated for the rest of your life. They care about their families. They love their families. And they even love and care about their adopted families, as I'm adopted by a family here, which is why I live here. I'm treated like a queen, and I rather like it because I do a lot of work with people with very serious emotional problems. I need to have my well filled so that I can fill their well. Lastly, you need to understand something very important here. When we take pills and injections and other things, we really don't have a good idea as to what they are actually doing in our bodies. We don't, because the tests that are done on them are usually done on college-age males. Think about this for a moment. And they're not done for that long period of time to actually know anything long-term either. So if males at that age group are full of muscle and women have way more fat, obviously we're going to metabolize things differently. Second of all, young kids, and infants in particular, and elders are going to metabolize things a lot different than people during the height of their lives in their 20s, 30s, 40s, maybe even 50s. So we have to take these things under consideration. And the next thing you have to think about is how long you're going to be on that medication, because every single medication is seen as a toxin to the body. I don't care what they say. If it's synthesized in some chemical, industrial plant someplace to make it medicine, it is a toxin to your body, and your body sees it as such. And every single medication is detoxified either in the liver or the kidneys. And I can tell you, when I was on lithium for over 10 years, due to having manic depression, which is what it was known in the time that I was diagnosed in the late 80s, it started to slow down my kidneys. And I was very lucky because my psychiatrist at the time knew exactly what tests I needed to take, and she got me off that crap immediately. And I was even luckier because Todd James helped me get rid of it, meaning the manic depression bipolar 2, in 5 minutes of timeline therapy. Yes, my psychiatrist did follow me for a matter of 10 months just to make sure I was okay, because even I recognized the fact that I wanted to make sure I was okay. I didn't want to do anything to harm myself. I certainly didn't want to do anything to harm my ability to work with my clientele who had entrusted their care to me in the first place. But the lesson here is that our minds are very, very, very powerful when we understand how to use them appropriately. The problem is that we're not taught how to do that. If you take a meditation course and you're able to do the meditation, you're going to find what I found. And that is that you'll be very much more relaxed. When people say stupid, offensive things, you will not react to it. You'll be able to respond and just sort of let it flow off your back. And it allows you to live much more in the present moment, which is actually a really place to be, because the only moment we need to be at any moment is the present moment. As one of my wise mastermind members stated to us in the mastermind many moons ago, be where you're at while you're there. That means ditch the cell phones when you're in communication with other people. Be present, eye-to-eye contact, heart-to-heart contact, soul-to-soul. That is the way we build really great relationships. Being present, listening, and responding to what a person's saying. Not thinking about what you're going to say in response to what they haven't even finished saying, but listening and being present. And this is one of the things that's missing in the medical world, and dare I say, the psychiatric and psychological world as well. They don't listen to their patients. They tell them what to do. And then if they don't do what they're told to do, they get rather critical and demeaning to them. I'm here to tell all you providers out there to listen to what your patients and clients are saying. What are they not saying? Because they're fearful of saying it. And what are they saying between the lines of what they're saying? And then ask questions. One of the biggest lessons I got from my neurolinguistic programming was to not be directive, but be suggestive. This is a suggestion. I think you'll find it really helpful if you do it instead of saying, do this or else. Two very different things there. And the other thing is to check in with people and say, I don't know if I'm understanding you correctly, but I think this is what you're saying. Can you tell me if I'm on the right track here? And if you agree that I understand from where you're coming. Because in that case, you're respecting them. You're hearing them. They're hearing you hear them. And rapport is the most important thing that we can have in any kind of relationship, most especially a medical, and even more importantly, a mental health relationship. All really important points. So I want you to really think about what is happening with the people with whom you are employing to do your healthcare with you. Are they being paid by Big Pharma to give you pills and devices? Because that's really what has to happen if you're in a, medical university hospital system nowadays. The doctors don't get paid as much if they're not selling that crap. I've done the research. It's there. That's why they see 20 to 40 patients a day. It is ridiculous. There is no continuity of care. They don't know what the hell's going on with you. And they can't give you good treatment if they don't understand who you are, where you come from, what your family background is, and why you're sitting in front of them. It can't be. And for all you psychiatrists and psychologists who have your heads stuck in this, the electronic record systems, you're not doing your patients any kind of quality anythings. They need to see you caring about them, listening to them, and taking them seriously. Because I will tell you this right here, right now, even before that crap was introduced into the medical system, when I was getting care, my psychiatrist before my last one, who I kept for 13 years for a reason, she was present, they didn't listen to me. When I was being over-medicated, they didn't listen to me. They said, no, you have to do this. No, I don't have to do this. If my body doesn't like the shit, I don't need to be on it, and you need to help me to get off it. And ultimately what I had to do was get my then husband into a session with me, which was embarrassing as hell. I told him exactly what to tell her, and she listened to him. She would not listen to me for 6 months, but she listened to him the first time through. There's something inherently wrong with that perspective in dealing with patients. It is so demeaning. It is so dehumanizing. I'm in a doctoral program now for psychology, and my biggest thing that I want people to understand is learn hypnosis, learn NLP. Then you can help your people heal. Because if you're a healer, your job is to help people heal. It's not to keep them in your practice for the rest of their lives. It's not to keep them on toxic medications forever. No, that is not your job. Your job is to help them to heal their traumas, to get into their lives in a way that works for them, to do the things they care about, to be able to have healthy relationships, first with themselves and then with other people, and then to be able to have jobs that are meaningful to them, and to be able to do those things that are hobbies that they want to do and to live their dreams, just like you want. Why do you think they don't deserve what you want? Or maybe you don't believe you deserve it, and that's why you don't give it to your people. I don't know. But I do know it is a sickness that goes through the mental health system, and it needs to end, and it needs to end now. And that is my movement. I want our mental health system to be taken seriously because it helps people heal and get rid of the problems that they came into your office to resolve. Now, I understand people with personality disorders, true personality disorders, are not really healable. I was raised by one. My mom died a few years ago. She had borderline personality disorder. She was very open about the fact. She went to therapy for years and years, and let me tell you something. One of the psychotherapists she had while I was in high school did way more damage to my mother than anybody else she interacted with. Trust me on that. It was disgusting. She had no boundaries with her whatsoever. It was totally confusing to my mother. And then later she had a good psychologist who had really clear boundaries with her, and it worked out a lot better. But she really learned how to take care of herself better when she was stuck in a nursing home. She wouldn't do what she needed to do to take care of herself. And I don't know, in a lot of ways, she didn't really have the capacity. And they told her, if you're not taking your meds as we are giving them to you, you will not have a place to live. And that took care of the problem. And those were the 7 happiest years of her life, I do believe, because I really loved her and cared for her. And I cried when she died, actually. She had been there for 7 years. I was there the day she died. I was there for the last 10 days of her life, actually. So these are what you need to understand. Holistic approaches first. If you don't know what's going on or your doctors have no understanding, go to an integrative or functional doc to get the correct testing, because MDs have no idea how to test for mold. They don't know how to test for toxic metals. They don't know how to test for vitamin deficiencies. They don't know. They were never taught. So why go there? They're just going to give you prescriptions. Prescriptions don't take care of anything. They just make things worse in the end. And that is my message to you. Be thoughtful. Do your research. Go on Perplexity AI and do the research on what helps with the symptoms that you're having, and then go find the providers that are specialists in those areas. Because I'm going to tell you right here, right now, if I didn't have the thought in my head that I was not going to be figuratively married to a psychiatrist for the rest of my life, that's probably where I would have still been. And who knows what those drugs would have done to my body by this late time. Instead, I wanted a better holistic way for my clients, and I found a way through hypnosis. And in looking for help for them, I found help for myself. And I'm telling you right here, right now, there are alternative ways. But the basics are really important. If you're doing crap, you're eating crap that you know is unhealthy, stop. Just stop. Use your critical thinking. Do you really want to still feel like shit every day because you're doing these things? Just stop. That's the first thing you need to do. Read the labels of the food you're eating, especially if you're in America where all the crap is there. And then do your best to get organic food. I know it's expensive, but it's a hell of a lot less expensive than dealing with medical problems later on, many that can kill you in the end, or give you autoimmune illnesses that make you feel like crap every single day that you're alive. Just saying, guys, use your brain cells. They're there for a reason. As always, I thank you so much for spending your time with me. Till next time. Bye-bye.